Hey guys, how are we all doing? Sorry I did not post last Friday. Life has been crazy, but I figured I would post another video today, and I am going to tell you about my ACL injury story with pictures. So, a lot of people ask me, what happened to you? Why are you in a knee brace? And like, what's the story? Because when you're injured, everybody wants to know what happened, and I'm here to tell you that. If you like my wild rag, link is down in the description. Rustic Rose, you can use code TANA10 for 10% off of your order. I have tons of these. The cheetah one's like probably one of my favorites. They don't have just wild rags. They have many cute boutique clothes, hats, earrings, necklaces, you name it. And if there's something that you don't see that you want, just send them a message, and they are amazing to work with. In the spring of 2020, I get my horses adjusted and feed and everything done before the season starts, so that way they're good to go. And at the beginning of the season and the end of the season, I have a special chiropractor that comes out, and he does cranial sacral massage. So he uses muscle points, he adjusts the head, he does weird things with the legs. During the regular season, if my horses need an adjustment, I have my other chiro come out, and she does more of like the body work, the back, the hips, the shoulders, the neck, all that type of stuff. Being this time of year, I had gotten my horse adjusted, cranial sacral therapy. She had just gotten brand new shoes, legs were checked, everything was rocking, she was good to go. And usually after they get adjusted, I give them a couple days off, because that would be like you having like all of your bones cracked and then somebody the next day being like, okay, now go run a mile. Like, no, I usually give them the day or two off, just depends how sore they are. So I did arena work. She felt great. Like, we were loping beautiful, beautiful circles. She felt light. I was like, perfect. And there is this state park probably like 2 miles from my house. So I'll long trot there, right around the state park, bring them back. I was heading that way, and everything was fine. It was a normal, beautiful spring day. Went the same way that we normally go. There's a lot of stuff going on, but she's been to rodeos, so she has seen things like this before. So I'm bringing her down the road, and she starts picking up her pace, and I'm like, good, because she's like my slow poke. Like, I literally have to be kicking her like nonstop to get her to go. And she picks up her pace, and then starts going into a nice slope. I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, this will be a nice quick ride. And she's about 2 strides into her lope, and she throws her head down. I'd like to say I'm a pretty decent seat. Like, I'm just used to training horses, so I can tell when they're gonna try stuff. And this I wasn't expecting. But when they throw their head down, like, I can't save it. Like, I can't. Like, if I was leaning back, I'd be fine, but I was riding with her. So when she threw her head down, my hands were obviously on the rein, and I went down with her. Well, when that happened, I flew off, and my right foot got stuck in the stirrup. So I was caught dangling underneath her for a little bit. I don't even remember. And finally, like, I got my leg through, and I remember dangling underneath her, and I was like, don't step on me, don't step on me, don't step on me. And she didn't. But then I finally got my foot freed. I went to go and grab my rein, and it snapped. I'm like, cool. This is not my day. So then my horse takes off running across the road, and I'm like, okay, please don't go any farther than this person's random yard you're in. Like, just stay there. Well, then she looks around and sees me, and I'm like, I can't run after her because my leg's like literally bent like that. And so finally she stops, and I'm like, hey, easy, like, it's okay. And I grab her, and like, I can hardly move my leg. I only have one rein, so I walk her home. Good thing it wasn't that far. It was probably like half a mile. And so I'm like walking her home, and like adrenaline is still kicking in, so I don't think anything's wrong with my leg. All of a sudden we start getting closer to home, and like my leg is way unstable. I'm like, okay, well, I can step on it, so it's not broken, but it hurts so bad. So I'm like, I'm gonna get my other horse rode, and then I'll go to the ER after. Like, it's not a big deal. So I get back home, I get her untacked, put her back away, and my leg at this point, I'm like, have to take breaks walking because my leg is killing me. And like, I have a pretty decent pain tolerance, and I'm just sobbing, and I'm like, yep, this is not right. Like, I had to basically crawl up to my house. And so I go inside, and I'm like, and this is the time of when Corona everything was shut down. So I'm like, what do I do? I called the urgent care line, and I'm like, hey, like, I got thrown from a horse. I just want to make sure my leg's not broken. It hurts really bad. Like, I can't move it. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not broken, but like, something's wrong. So like, okay, come in. And so I went in. They x-rayed it. They're like, yeah, your x-rays look normal. Everything looks great. So we're just going to recommend that you go home and ice, and then, it'll heal in itself. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, this is good news. So my leg was like swollen. I could hardly walk for like a week. And then, I'd ice it and kind of did some light walking and did a little bit of like rehab, stretching and whatever. And it was like a month and a half later, and things weren't getting better. Something isn't right. Like, I've had my fair share of injuries. I know my body. I know something is wrong. So I just send them a message, and I'm like, hey, like, these are my symptoms. It's not getting better. And they're like, oh yeah, these type of injuries, they'll take time. Like, it was pretty significant, so you just keep icing it and it'll get better. I'm like, okay. Well, I'm like, well, I'm not just going to keep icing it because I know it's not going to get better. So I looked up ACL rehab exercises, and that's literally what I did. I rehabbed my leg to full capacity again, and everything was great. Occasionally it would give out on me, and I'd be fine. I'd be like, oh, that was weird, and didn't think anything of it. Well, fall comes around. My leg feels great. Well, as great as it can. And I went in for a regular like appointment at the doctor, and the doctor's like, oh, is there any problems you'd like to talk about today? And I'm like, yeah, could you just look at my knee? Like, something was still off with it, even though it felt decent most of the time. I'm like, something's still off with it. So he feels it, and he's like, we should get an MRI done. Really? Like, thanks. Like, we probably should have done that a long time ago, but it's fine. So, schedule an appointment for an MRI a week later, go in. It was the morning of a test I was taking for nursing school. Open up my message, and it said, well, I'm sorry to say this, but your ACL is completely torn. And I literally read that, and then I started laughing, like, uncontrollably. Like, I had read, oh, your ACL is completely torn. And like, it was almost like I felt relieved because I knew it. I was like, yes, I knew it. Like, I knew something was wrong, but like, you didn't want it to be that. But it was like a happy and like a, oh no type moment. So had to schedule an appointment the next week with a orthopedic surgeon. Go in, and he's like, okay, so we have two options. Either you can just continue to rehab it, or we can do reconstructive surgery. And I was like, okay. So he's like, we'll set up an appointment with the physical therapist, and then we can go from there. So I go home, and I'm like, okay, I can either do what I'm doing now and have it hurt, or I can have it repaired and have it be good for another 50 years. Let's repair it. So I know ACL surgeries take a long time to recover. And so I went to a physical therapist a couple days after this appointment. And the physical therapist looks at my knee, and he does all the stretches and the strength. And he's like, well, it can't get any stronger. I'm like, cool, thanks. He's like, so we'll just have to wait till you have surgery. And then this was the kicker. You think I could have surgery right then and there? No. I had to finish a clinical rotation for school. So on my winter break, I had to go and get ACL surgery the day after finals. Yeah. So It was really fun. And now at this time, I'm not even 2 months post-operation. I asked about downsizing to a different brace. I can't until 5 months when I start running. And I did not realize the recovery process was going to be this long. And all the doctors said, be patient. You're not a patient person. Please be patient. Like, it will heal. And let me tell you, being a nursing student and going to clinicals with a freshly repaired ACL, my legs are killing me. I feel like an old granny that's like, I need to sit down and rest my legs. But yeah, so since that moment, I didn't blame the horse because it was not the horse's fault. And we later found out that the horse had ulcers. Horses will tell you what's wrong and make sure you listen to them. Otherwise, you could be sitting here recovering from an ACL tear that happened a year ago. So that is my ACL story. Yeah, I don't even know what to think of it some days. I'm like, well, I can't control it, and I'm farther than the beginning, so yeah. But stay tuned for the next YouTube video with Tana Sunny Rose. Make sure you check out links down in the description below. Feel free to email me at any time, tanasunnyrose@gmail.com. I thank you all so much for continually supporting me. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I hope your weekend is spectacular just as all of you are. God bless. Bye-bye.